So getting the TV and so on.
Oh, the strangest.
But
That's
yeah, that is cool. No. Before. Okay.
Hey, Commissioner Dick or Commissioner Wu, could we do a quick sound check?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. It is.
Okay. Okay. Right on the dot. Good afternoon and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for November 4th, 2025. This is the briefing portion of the Planning Commission meeting. And before we get started, we'll just do a quick sound check and I guess roll call. Commissioner Blackwell, Chair Burton Falk, Commissioner Dick.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Mazza,
Here.
Commissioner Gammy. Commissioner O'Neill here, Commissioner Cantonia.
Here.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Here.
and Commissioner Wu.
Here.
Thank you. Okay. So we have one item on for briefing today. This is BDA 2025-01290 located at 121st Street. This involves the construction of two mixed-use buildings in the Strip District. And presenting that is Mr. Kinsella.
Thank you, Vice Chair O'Neill. This is Project Development Plan Application BDA-2025-01290 that was filed by Indivina Associates Architects on behalf of Midwood Investment and Development, the property owner, for construction of two mixed-use buildings in the Strip District neighborhood. The buildings will contain a total of 464 dwelling units, 37,000 square feet of ground level retail spaces, and improvements around the multi-use trail to the rear of the property. Per section 905.04.c.3 of the zoning code, the planning commission shall review and approve as a project development plan all new construction of 15,000 square feet or more in gross floor area within the riverfront industrial mixed-use district. The site is located at the corner of 21st and Railroad Streets. The site is bordered by the multi-use trail to the rear and a 6-story multi-unit residential building to the eastern side of the property. The development site includes 2 parcels that are to be consolidated. The parcels are currently occupied by a 1-story warehouse building, and a lot consolidation was approved on October 21st, 2025. The project site is located in the floodplain overlay district. The applicant has submitted a floodplain permit application, and the permit is currently under review by the Department of Permits, License and Inspection, or PLI. This is located in the RIV IMU district, where at least 60% of the building frontage must be within the Build To zone, which is imposed between 0 and 10 feet inward from the property line. The proposed building frontages for the site are comply with this requirement. The applicant is proposing one building, which is Building A, with a building height of 65 feet, and a second building, Building B, with a building height of 85 feet. The RIV IMU zoning district requires a 10-foot step back at 65 feet in building height for buildings that exceed 65 feet in height. The applicant is compliant with the upper story step back requirements on Building B. There are no upper story setback requirements on Building A. The applicant is required to seek 8 performance points for the following: 3 for the additional building height, 3 points for the 30-foot riparian buffer reduction, and encroachment into that riparian buffer. The applicant is utilizing the following building points. Those will be 2 points for rainwater, 2 points for riverfront access amenities by providing accessible restrooms that will be open to the public. 2 points for the urban fabric, utilizing the design of the structured parking to be converted for other uses. And 2 points for fresh food access, as the applicant has designed the ground floor retail space of Building A with the intention of the tenant being a fresh food market. Section 905.04.e.4 provides regulations for the placement of buildings within that riparian buffer zone. That is required to be 125 feet from the project elevation from the river. The applicant is utilizing performance points to 95 feet, and then additionally encroaching into the riparian buffer in conformance with the conditions outlined in 905.04.e.4.1c. The project proposes integral parking spaces in each of the 2 buildings, containing a total of 344 parking spaces. This is in compliance with the parking requirements of Chapter 914. Additionally, the applicant is compliant with the bicycle parking spaces, both for the number of protected spaces, as well as the overall number of bicycle parking spaces. Additionally, the applicant is compliant with the landscape and screening standards of Chapter 918. The applicant is providing 10-foot sidewalks that are required in the RIV district. They're proposing 10-foot wide sidewalks along Railroad and 21st Street. This project was reviewed by the Contextual Design Advisory Panel. The panel was in favor of the design of the 2 buildings with the proposed use of the materials that the panel noted created a cohesive and restrained design. Additional recommendations by the panel included further emphasis on the access areas to the riverfront trail with a particular focus on pedestrian safety. A copy of the CDAP summary report is attached to the report submitted to commissioners. There is no registered community organization in the Strip District neighborhood, and no development activities meeting was required. The proposed development also is compliant with the off-street loading standards in 914.10.a. There are proposed 6 off-street loading spaces within the loading areas that are contained within the buildings. The section 922.10.e.2 outlines the review criteria for the Planning Commission for project development plans, and those criteria are included in the report submitted. And with that, I'll hand it over to the applicant team.
Good afternoon, Bill Sittig, representing the developer applicant is Midwood Investment and Development. This is the existing consumer produce terminal, recently vacated. As you can see, it extends nearly two of those large city blocks. So it extends where 22nd Street would be, from 21st on the left through where 22nd would cut through almost all the way to 23rd. So what happened as a result of the design efforts, and the Indivina Associates Architects are here today, and Ryan and Rob Indivina and Marty Busser, and Ryan and Marty will be presenting. But as a result of the design process with Midwood and the community, it became two buildings. It's a reflection of that long frontage there. It's also was a collaboration, coordination with Brickworks and McCaffrey, who has the development across Railroad Street. So as will be shown in the presentation, there's an alignment there. So it not only breaks up that block, but provides more river access. And part of the concerns, and we expect to receive, we've been told we will receive for the hearing a support letter from Strip District neighbors. They were interested, obviously, in that riverfront access. We've been very clear that that access needs to be controlled. That's internal. It's essentially a courtyard. It will be public access, but it will be controlled in so that's normal hours, but for security purposes will be, evening, overnight, will be restricted. Don't want that to become a gathering place for sure, and want to make sure our residents feel safe. The other concerns were the normal in the Strip District, which is parking. As Mr. Kinsella mentioned, this is compliant in all respects with the performance points, with the code. There's no ZBA action was needed. So as a result of that process, and it was fruitful, but ended up being extensive because we went first, it was a single building. And then through that process, trying to meet visual access corridor requirements, which we don't think applies to this block, but nonetheless, we decided to comply with them anyway, resulted in this design, which we think is, is much improved. It's fortunate with all the development, we were able to control these very large adjacent projects. So with that, turn it over to Ryan Indivina.
Afternoon, Ryan Indivina, Indivina Associates Architects, and Marty Busser, also Indivina Associates Architects. We're excited to be here this afternoon on behalf of Midwood Development, as well as Midwood Design, who we've worked with quite closely in the development of the project. So just to familiarize everybody, the big red box is our site. It's the existing consumer produce site. It fronts along Railroad Street to the southeast and 21st Street on the southwest. The Helm multifamily residential project is to the northeast, and the river is to the northwest. Should use the little clicker here. All right. There we go. Here's just an aerial view of the existing conditions. And we'll get into a little bit more detail of the site conditions, particularly this being a unique site with the marina actually to the northwest. So our site is basically one of the only sites along this whole zone of the river that actually has another use along the river between itself and the water. A couple site views of the existing conditions. So in the upper left corner, this is a view looking to the northeast along Railroad. The existing site is to the left, big white building with railroad tracks. On the right-hand side, upper right-hand side, is Railroad looking back towards town. The site is on the right-hand side. Lower left is at the end of 21st Street, essentially at the border between 21st and the existing trail that then buffers against the river. And then the last view is actually prior to the construction of the Helm. So the building there is basically occupying where the car is, but there was previously a service parking lot and is now a structure there. The site is kind of the last zone within the RIV IMU. Everything to the southwest is part of the SP8 district, especially planned district, of which there are a number of large multifamily projects, as well as townhouses that run along Railroad, which is named Waterfront Place within that zone. So as was mentioned in the overview, our site is subject to the RIV IMU height and design standards and such, which we'll get into. Just a big overview here on kind of the minor components here. The setbacks, there's 0 setbacks required other than the 10-foot sidewalks, of which we're providing throughout the project on the street sides. The base height in the district is 60 feet. The max height is 150 feet. So it's an unusual site within the RIV that permits a much taller structure. However, we are providing 2 structures, one 65 feet, which you'll see, and one 85 feet. And so those are, again, 2 independent buildings. One quick note, for buildings that are larger than 40,000 square feet in this district, buildings are limited to 65 feet. In our case, we have 2 buildings that are less than that square footage, so that section is not relevant. Bonus points here. So as was mentioned in the initial overview, we have a number of bonus points that we're pursuing. The standard height bonus points, in this case, needing 3 points for the 25-foot height for the 85-foot building. We need additional 3 points for this riparian buffer setback, which we'll go through that site plan analysis to indicate what that means and how it affects this particular site. And then the further 2 points for a further encroachment on the buffer. Again, you'll understand sort of as we go through the site plan. Our plan to acquire those points, as was mentioned, is utilizing the urban fabric point, 2 points, which is the convertible ground level of parking, fresh food access for an additional 2 points. One of our main anchors within the retail space at the ground level would be a grocery store. Presently looking at rainwater for an additional 2 points, and then the riverfront public access easement, trail, and amenities, which gets 2 points for on-site publicly accessible restrooms. Just quickly kind of go an overview of the various components of the project. And you'll see this in our stacking plan from a parking standpoint, again, fully compliant with the requirements within the RIV. We have a total of 344 spaces across the two buildings. Spaces are allocated on both level 1 and level 2 of both buildings, with level 3 of building 2 having an additional 71 spaces. Bike parking is correlated with that, provided all at ground level for a total of 100 spaces. We have a little just quick analysis of what our parking requirements are, where we have number of units for residential, our grocery requirement, our retail requirement, and our total counts. Within the RIV, you have a 50% reduction permitted. So we are in excess of that base minimum within the RIV. And then similar with the bike parking, we are in compliance with bike parking. And finally, loading. In this case, we have 37,000 square feet total of retail space. As a result of that, we have 2 loading spaces on site required for retail, and then an additional 4 loading spaces for the remaining residential components, for a total of 6 on-site loading spaces. And we'll go through where those are in the site as we get into the plans. This is just kind of snippets from zoning code. Again, high level, the site is subject to the riparian buffer zone, which is basically the setback distance from the river, a point located within the river, not necessarily the river's edge, but an actual datum elevation within the river that establishes where the building can sit. So we'll go into that fairly briefly here to explain how we are citing the building and how we are achieving our points to provide that sort of greater coverage within the site. Everything else, the street build-to zones, pedestrian sidewalks, et cetera, as was mentioned before, we are in compliance with. Just some diagrams for within the zoning code that dictates how we are to achieve our coverage along the street sides of the building. So that in this case would be the southeast and southwest sides, the railroad and 21st sides of the building. And then finally, as Bill mentioned, there's a visual access corridor. So this is, again, a unique site where we have the remnants of 22nd Street, which dies into Smallman. And that was then dying into the site to the southeast, I guess, which has been demolished at this point. That project is pursuing the continuation of the visual access corridor, and through our design process in coordination with the community group, as well as our neighbors, felt it was also useful to continue that visual access corridor through to the river. So, differentiation from what was there previously, where 22nd died into a large industrial site. And then railroad to the river was also a large industrial site. And in this case, the construction of both projects will allow for a continuation, or at least a visual continuation of that street through to the river. Quickly, just solar study. I think I actually skipped one here. Nope, never mind. So just quick solar study. The building is located sort of on the northwest corner of the parcel, so has very limited impact for the majority of the solar conditions. Primarily in the late afternoon, would we have any impact on our neighbor, which is the Helm multi-unit residential to the northeast? Worst case scenario being kind of in the height of the winter, December 21st, when all the buildings are casting large shadows.
And in those renderings, we did include the Helm. So the building to the northeast is the existing Helm.
Yep, just for further clarity of the scale of our building relative to that building. Okay, so we'll get into the site analysis here. I got a lot of slides that I'll try and go through quickly for everybody. This is the existing site condition as it sits today. It's rather large, kind of J-shaped single-story warehouse with a large turnaround space that's in the middle of the site, provided for truck vehicular access. The site currently does not have sidewalks along its entire railroad side of the site. The Helm that was developed to the northeast, their sidewalk dies into the adjacent into this parcel. So one of the obviously main benefits of this development will be continuing that pedestrian access all the way to 21st, and similarly from 21st back to the river. You also note to the north of this existing structure is the bump out at basically a lower level, which is the existing marina. So again, kind of a unique site here in that there is a use to the north. Our proposed layout are the two gray boxes here. So a larger footprint building A and smaller footprint building B. Start going through the riparian buffer analysis here. So because we do have a unique condition where the water edge and the elevation associated with the water edge is bumped out by the surface of the marina parking area, it creates kind of this hat-shaped setback condition. So the base within zoning is 125-foot setback. We are then pursuing points to get a 95-foot setback, where you see here in yellow. And then we have a further 50-foot or further setback that we're permitted to do with additional points, which basically pushes us up to I guess the north, or it would be the northwest corner of our site, which is really the only point that would encroach within that green line. And we're also, pursuing this in the same sense as the Helm. So as you see on the right-hand side of this plan, the dashed footprint to the northeast is the Helm. So we're essentially meeting the setback that it achieved with that existing building, and continuing in that context along the railroads, along the trail side of the site. Just this little hatched area is just indicating our portion of the proposed building within the 50-foot setback, which is basically those two corners at the left and right of the two buildings. We're also in the floodplain, as was noted. So the zone AE is the dark blue. The lighter blue is also zone AE, the floodplain versus the floodway. So our building is not within the floodway. Obviously, that's a much more stringent requirement. And we'll go through how we're achieving our floodplain considerations in the architecture for a building situated within the Zone E floodplain. So shifting over to the section here. So this is a section cut through the buildings as they're facing north. So 21st Street is on the left side, the Helm is on the right-hand side, and the two buildings are situated here. As was noted previously, both buildings have parking at ground and second level, which is highlighted here in kind of this tan color, with then building A having an additional 4 floors of residential comprised of kind of 2 large wings. And then building B has an additional level of parking, and then 5 floors of units above that. So the distinction between the two structures is 65 feet and 85 feet. And then we have our pass-through space between the two, that visual access corridor that I mentioned, which would occur at its tightest point at the ground level. And then actually the building sets back as we go upward with the residential units. And then similarly, we have a rather significant setback for the majority of building B between our site and the Helm site to provide nice, contextual breathing room and more of a feeling of a street dimension more so than a direct property line to property line dimension on that northeast side of the project. Cut through the opposite direction, so the river's on the left, railroad's on the right. Our grocery store occupies essentially two floors, two vertical floors with a parking to the left of it. So again, we have our requirements from a grocer standpoint to have large scale height available within that space. And we're able to achieve 2 levels of parking within that. We'll also see as we go through our plan here on the far left side in purple are residential townhouse units that front on the riverside. So the intent there is to articulate the trail side, the riverside with a pedestrian scaled access and residential space rather than just looking at parking or some, ground level apartments. Next slide here. This is the building B section. So again, two-story retail, 2-story lobby, and then fitting 3 stories of interstitial parking within 2 levels of residential, and then the remaining 5 floors above. As was mentioned, this building B is subject to that 10-foot setback above 60 feet, which you see, 65 feet, excuse me, which you see on the right-hand side of the plan. All right, so here we're shifting into our landscape plan. So essentially this site is a blank slate. As I said, the existing industrial building has no sidewalks. It has a railroad spur that occupies the entire length of the railroad street side of the site. That will be removed. And our new sidewalks will then continue the existing Helm sidewalk from east to west, running across the entire site. We will have an indent for the majority of the length of our site along Railroad Street for surface publicly accessible parking. That'll allow us, we basically worked with Domi as well as with the Brickworks development to realign the entirety of Railroad Street from the intersection of the Helm all the way to 21st. So it's much more conducive than the existing condition with Jersey barriers and a shift in the drive aisle, et cetera. So this will allow for a much more pedestrian and vehicular friendly and organized space. As we wrap around 21st Street, our sidewalk continues all the way up to the trail side, where we have additional surface publicly accessible parking on 21st, as well as our primary loading access for the grocery, which you see with the 2 large highlighted trucks. So that's for large scale delivery trucks. And then we have our access to the parking garage a little bit further than that. And then as we get to the riverside, we have the entire north side of the building lined with the 2-story townhouses, wrapping back into this visual access corridor, which has an vehicular access point along Railroad at its southern side. That'll continue for about a quarter of the site, where we have this larger sort of octagonal space, which provides direct access to both residential lobbies for the building. So it's essentially an internal residential lobby. Those cars can then continue and have direct access into the parking garage on the building B side. And then it would continue to a pedestrian-only zone where we have residential townhouses on both sides of that visual access corridor, landscape environment all the way to the north side of the site along the trail. And there we're going to greatly improve that experience and work in conjunction with that parcel, which the trail parcel, which we do not control, to make that a very attractive and enticing space along the public side of the building. Shifting over to, this is just an overview to indicate the accessibility of the site. So essentially our entire southern side of the building B has direct at-grade access to our retail space. That retail space will actually be situated below the base flood elevation or reference flood elevation, excuse me. Whereas the larger grocery store space in building A is actually elevated above the reference flood elevation. We're doing that with a raised platform, essentially with a grand stair as well as accessible ramps, similar to the terminal building redevelopment further down the street, in the sense that we have to create a grade differential, a grade change from Railroad Street to our building footprint. And we are also achieving that grade differential as you go through the vehicular access corridor to the main lobby space of these buildings. All those will be within ADA compliance for access for the sidewalk slopes, et cetera. Grocery store will be provided with accessible entrance points. The lobbies to both buildings are accessible and have direct access to the elevators servicing all floors. It's a little hard to read up in the top there, but this building from a residential standpoint The total number of units is required to be accessible across the board. So we'll have 10 type A units, which are fully accessible units, and the remaining units are type B convertible units, which again means that any potential tenant is able to provide grab bars and clearances as required for the type B construction. Next slide here is just going to our ground level plan, just kind of highlighting what I mentioned here before. Let's say, darker pink, purple colors, the retail spaces fronting on Railroad and wrapping the corner on 21st. Parking garages spaces are in white. Our building lobby and service areas are yellow, and then the residential townhouses lining the visual access corridor as well as the north side of the site are in light purple. So again, really trying to activate all sides of the site and the building as much as we can from the public perspective. So we go upstairs. This is the interstitial space with the double height grocery store spaces within our parking garages and upper floors of the residential townhouses. When we get up to the first level of Building A's residential units, it's essentially a 2-courtyard scheme. So we have 2 wings extending out to the river with then a common plaza deck and pool on that side. And then there's an internal courtyard on the southern portion of the site, which units face out to. And then the equivalent side on Building B is going to be the additional floor of parking. And then when we get upstairs, so see a little bit more clearly, it's essentially an upside down A on Building A, and then an I shape on Building B. The idea here being we're pulling the building back as it gets higher to provide a lot of breathing space, a lot of patio space, and a lot of functional area for the residents. As we keep going, same floor plan, and then we get to the top of Building A, which is have a green roof assembly combined with our utility components, while Building B will continue for another 2 floors. Shifting over to the materiality here. Again, it's a little tricky on the screen here to see. I think it's a little bit clearer on our presentation, but the building is comprised of full depth brick facade at the ground level with a kind of darker color. It's a Belden black diamond, which is kind of a manganese iron spot looking material. That works in conjunction with aluminum window frame storefronts, all clear glass, etc. As we shift to the upper floors, we're looking at using a Belden claret, which is basically a kind of a purplish red color, I'd say, for the remaining floors. And this would be on both buildings. And then we have sort of an accent condition within these triple zones to kind of reduce the scale of the building. That would be clad in an open joint rain screen fiber cement system with aluminum windows. We're working through the windows right now, but it could be aluminum, could be fiberglass. So we're working through that from a budget standpoint. But again, carrying this sort of materiality through the entirety of the building, that's on all exterior facades of the structure, really making a point to make sure we have long-term high-quality materials on the facade. Shifting to the just flat elevations here, and we do have some renderings further along here. This is the railroad side. So ground level of both buildings are, large zones of glazing, really articulated and clear for our grocery and retail experiences. And then the buildings extending from upward from there have a little bit of different treatment. The upper floors on Building A have sort of 3 floors of verticality that's punctuated by a horizontal band, and then a single floor of punched openings with some indented areas for balconies. And then the Building B is treated a little bit more like a grid elevation. So we have both vertical and horizontal overlays in that, but using the same materiality and coloration to really tie the 2 buildings together. As we wrap around 21st Street, on this side, we have the retail that wraps around about a third of the facade before we get to the loading dock zones for the large trucks servicing the grocery store. They're located roughly the same location across the street from the Edge 1909 building, which has its loading along 21st. Our parking garage access is directly adjacent to that, and then we have our townhouses that start from there. In this view, you're actually seeing the 5 floors of the Building A and then seeing the taller building beyond. So you can kind of see the courtyard side or the view corridor side of the building on Building B is really heavily glazed, utilizing that same grid assembly. and really making sure that we provide a good experience for the residents. Wrapping around the riverside, again, same materiality, wrapping around the corner here. Really want to make sure this is visible and clear for all experiences, for people across the river, on the bridges, on the trail, etc. And making this, an exciting and unique color and grid assembly of the building. So, it's delayed here. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is just a quick rendering at the corner of Railroad and 21st. So the Edge building is in the foreground to the left. You see the cork factory and the helm in the distance. So again, you're seeing the sort of expression of the materiality, expression of the glazing on the upper floors, as well as the clarity of the ground level for our retail space. It's a little challenging to see here, but we do have that sort of raised plinth along the retail space on this building A here, which will be provided with multiple access points throughout that length of sidewalk, so people can access that from all different directions. This is a view essentially from the brickwork site looking across the street and down that view corridor. So there's a slight grade differential here, so you'll see kind of a slope upward of the vehicular ramp there to the access point for the lobby. And then you do have the buildings on both sides. And building B benefits from having a large balcony along this side within the sort of massing, the higher massing of the building set back that 10-foot buffer zone. Another view, this is from across the river. So you kind of see it more in the context of the other larger scale neighbors. You have the large zone of the cork factory, the tower portion to the northwest there. The helm is adjacent to this parcel, which is roughly the same size, and then the Edge as we sort of step the building down from the highest building, the cork factory, down to the lowest, the Edge 1909 to the southwest. And then last view here is of the trail side of the building. So we really wanted to zoom in and show what we're trying to do here from a pedestrian experience, from the public experience. Right now, for those who are familiar, this is a rather overgrown portion of the trail because of the proximity of the building existing structure to the trail. Becomes very narrow here. So we're trying to enlarge that, tie it more so into what happens across the street on 21st, where there's much more expansive space on the Edge site, as well as what's happening on the helm and cork factory. We do have a grade differential here as well. So we're accommodating that with sort of stepped concrete planters and steps, where then we get up to the residential townhouse zone, which will have kind of small front yards. So really trying to bring down the scale of these buildings and make this a nice, really attractive space for people walking by, biking by, and for those who reside here. So I think with that is our presentation. So.
Thank you. At this time during briefing, we do not take public testimony, but we do hear comments from the commission. And just before we open it up to other commissioners, I did want to note that my firm has represented the property owner on unrelated matters that have since concluded, but I won't be commenting substantively on this application, just to be clear. But I think we have a Commissioner Dick's hand is raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, several just short questions. First of all, do you have a working title for this building? These buildings, I'm sorry, this project?
A working name, you mean?
Yes.
I do not believe so. Scott is on the call here as well. He can certainly jump in if he needs to.
No, we are not working with a working marketing title for the thing.
Okay. 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 Am I correct in assuming this is all market rate rentals and so on, that you do not have affordable housing included in this?
Correct.
Okay. And you have explained, I guess, pretty well what you're going to do within the floodplain too. Okay. Yeah, I think that's. Oh, I know. The other question was, how many townhouses are there as opposed to apartments?
23. 23.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mazza? No, that's
Okay, I'm going first. Okay.
sure.
How you guys doing today? Great project. To me, it looks like you can open up the river real nice. I like the design. Why was the one building higher than the other one? Because of how you're set back on the property? or what space you had left on the property?
It's really a contextual thing to kind of create that step down, and it also helped us achieve the number of units that the developer wanted. So that those 2 extra floors really help. But when we really looked at it, the contextual step made a lot of sense.
The parking garage, it's all above ground?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any other commissioners with comments or questions? Commissioner Wu?
Yeah, great looking projects. I echo Commissioner Mazza's sentiment on that. I think it blends well with the existing architecture in the area, like the pork factory and like the retail component along Railroad Street. I did have a question to Mr. Siddick's a comment in the beginning about the open space being private. Does that does not include the riverfront trail, correct? Or how's that going to be separated from
Yeah,
the trail?
so, yeah, no, that's a great distinction. No, the riverfront piece is totally open to the public. Along what I was referring to is the internal piece, which is actually going to be public, but it's just going to be restricted. So it's going to be normal hours, but the trail itself, no restrictions.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Seeing no additional comments from commissioners, thank you so much for the presentation. We will see you back here in 2 weeks.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is 1:37. Our hearing and action portion of the meeting does not begin until 2 o'clock. So we will take a short recess and pick up there at 2. Before we come back, if you are here for the zoning text amendment for the signs in the North Shore Entertainment District, that item has been postponed until November 18th, 2025. Please check the website for updated agendas and details. I'll announce that again during the hearing and action portion, but I will see everybody back here at 2. Thank you.
Alexa, schedule a
There are no minutes.
Okay, thank you. Was that SNL good this week? Okay, I missed it. Oh, actually, that's the only one I saw, which was excellent.
Missing wives one, but it's just that the husbands are so dumb that they forgot that their wives told them they're going out of town. It's true.
All right, I'll check it out.
If the court reporter is online, oh, that's loud. If the court reporter is online, could you please raise your hand so we can promote you?
Hello, thank you so much for joining. All right, are you all set? Great, all right. Good afternoon and welcome to the hearing and action portion of the Planning Commission meeting for November 4th, 2025. Before we get started, I'll do a quick access check / roll call. Commissioner Blackwell,
Present.
Chair Burton Falk, Commissioner Dick,
Present.
Commissioner Mazza, Commissioner Gammy,
Present.
Commissioner O'Neill, present, Commissioner Cantania,
Present.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Present.
and Commissioner Wu.
Present.
Great. So on today's agenda, we will be starting with approval of commission minutes, followed by correspondence, plan of lots, and then hearing and action. We will start with approval of commission minutes, and there are none, so check that off. Second item is correspondence. Planning Commission is in receipt of correspondence from the following regarding DCP-MPZC-2025-00195. That's Council Bill 2025-1993 in Hazelwood. And we received correspondence from Aaron Breen, Janet Lunde, Rick Weiss, Abby Noyce, Dennis Burke, and Krish Pandya. We also received regarding citywide items, correspondence from Mary Lyons. The next item up is plan of lots. We will be hearing the application for DCP-lot-2025-00253 at 7061 Lemington Avenue. This is a major subdivision in the Lincoln-Lemington-Belmar area, and presenting that is Mr. Shepke.
Thank you. So this is the 7061 Lemington Avenue subdivision. This is the proposed subdivision of one parcel into two parcels. The proposed lot 1 would have frontage on Churchland Street. It would be 40,109 square feet in area. The proposed lot 2 would have frontage on Lemington Avenue and would be 79,646 square feet in area. A school building is located on the subject property, and this is a major subdivision that was first reviewed by the Planning Commission on October 21st, 2025. Staff's recommended motion is to approve the 7061 Lemington Avenue subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cantanier. I'll take roll call. Commissioner Blackwell?
Present.
Sorry, regarding the subdivision, aye or nay, Commissioner Blackwell?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's forgive me.
No
Yay.
worries.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Dick?
Aye.
Commissioner Gammy?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Neill? Aye. Commissioner Cantania?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Aye.
And Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
All right, and the motion carries. Next up on our agenda is the hearing and action. Initially, there were 2 items. We'll read the first in and then note that the second has been postponed. The first item is DCP-HN-2025-00208. This involves multiple parcels for the historic nomination of the Allegheny Arsenal in Lawrenceville. And then just before we move on to that, we do want to note that the zoning text amendment for signs in the North Shore Entertainment District, that's DCP MPZC 2025-00230, has been continued until November 18th. Please continue to check the website for updates on that item and agenda details. Skipping back to the historic nomination of the Allegheny Arsenal, we'll be hearing from Ms. Reed.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm here presenting the historic nomination DCP HN 2025-00208. It's for the Allegheny Arsenal Officers' Quarters, wall segments, and magazine structures. There are multiple properties with multiple owners. It's located in the Lawrenceville, Lower Lawrenceville, and Central Lawrenceville neighborhood. It was submitted on August 20th, 2025. The historic nomination of the Allegheny Arsenal Officers' Quarters, wall segments, and magazine structures. The nomination was attached to the staff report for commission review. The property owners were sent notice of this nomination by the city on August 25th, 2025. A development activities meeting was not held as there is no registered community organization in this area. A hearing for finding of reasonable cause before the Historic Review Commission was held on October 1st, 2025, and a public hearing is being held tomorrow with the Historic Review Commission, which is November 5th, 2025, with regards to a recommendation to council. Per 1101.03G of the zoning code, the planning commission, or of the preservation code, the planning commission shall consider the effects of designation on adjoining properties and surrounding neighborhoods within the framework of established planning, development, and land use objectives for the city of Pittsburgh. The recommended motion is that the Planning Commission of the City of Pittsburgh votes to provide a positive recommendation to City Council regarding this historic designation. Now I'm going to do the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, next. All right, so we're looking, as I already said, at the Allegheny Arsenal property, which is located right on the border of Central and Lower Lawrenceville, where that red identification thingy is. Next. This shows the full extent of the property. So this nomination is only for certain elements within that Allegheny Arsenal area. Just for sort of information's sake, we have here in the middle the Arsenal Middle School, and this has already been landmarked, individually landmarked locally in 1999. And then this section up here, which is sort of the core of the historic structures, was individually designated in 1977. So next. All right, so this is one half of the site. This is the area up towards Penn Ave. You can see in here identification of all the resources that are nominated. There are a great many wall segments that you can see with the dashed lines. There are 2 magazine buildings, and there's an officer quarters building. So this shows the part up towards Penn Ave. You can see them identified there. Next. Then this is the part that's south of Butler, or north of Butler, sorry. This is the part that is on the other side of Butler, between the river and Butler, and this shows the officers' quarters and several more of the wall segments. Next. Okay, the resources included in the nomination, the stone wall segments, which are circa 1814. There are 10 located on 39th Street, 3 on Penn Avenue, 1 at the corner of Penn Avenue and 40th Street, and 5 on 40th Street. Also, the officers' quarters, which was built in 1866, the powder magazine, which was built in 1814, and magazine buildings 1 and 2, which are circa 1860s. Next. Here are some historic photos showing the Arsenal. The one at the top is from 1908. You can see sort of the wall sections, or the full wall at that point in time there. And the one on the right-hand side shows a wall segment that's currently existing on 39th Street. Next. The picture at the left is a historic photo from 1937 of the Powder House structure, and the one on the right is the Powder Magazine as it currently appears at this time. Next. And here are some current images of the other buildings. There's the first one at the top on the left is Magazine 1. The one on the right is Magazine 2, and then the one at the bottom is the officers' quarters building. Next. Okay, where we are in the process. So as I said before, this went to Historic Review Commission for determination of viability or reasonable cause on October 2nd, 2025. Today, it's coming before a planning commission regarding a recommendation to council, and tomorrow it will go to the Historic Review Commission for a recommendation to city council. And then after that, it will go on to city council for a public hearing and eventually a vote. Next. Just to reiterate, per Title 11, 1101.03G, the City Planning Commission shall consider effects of designation on adjoining properties and surrounding neighborhoods within the framework of established planning, development, and land use objectives for the city of Pittsburgh. Next. These are the criteria for designation. The property meets these criteria for designation. Its location, number one, its location as a site of a significant historic or prehistoric event or activity. Its location as a site of an important archaeological resource, which is number 6. Number 7, its association with important cultural or social aspects or events in the history of the city of Pittsburgh, the state of Pennsylvania, the Mid-Atlantic region, or the United States. Criteria number 9, its representation of a cultural, historic, architectural, archaeological, or related theme expressed through distinctive areas, properties, sites, structures, or objects that may or may not be contiguous. And number 10, its unique location or distinctive physical appearance or presence representing an established and familiar visual feature of a neighborhood, community, or the city of Pittsburgh. Next. Also, there's been a determination of integrity. The piece of code for that is the commission shall consider the integrity of historic structures, historic districts. It's actually the Historic Review Commission should look at the integrity of historic structures, historic districts, historic sites, and historic objects. And the nominator feels that Allegheny Arsenal's office quarters, wall segments, and magazine structures have sufficient integrity to be listed as a historic property under the 5 criteria identified above. Next. That's it.
Thank you. At this time, we take public comments. If you are making comments, you will have 3 minutes. Please state your name, any organization or entity that you represent, and your address. We do not have anyone in the room. Does anyone have their hands raised to speak online? None. Then we open the floor to commissioners. I have a few questions.
Yes.
If there are no other commissioner questions. How many property owners are included in the area being nominated?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can list them off if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful because I
Okay.
understand the city and the school district are included in that list, but there are others.
Yeah, I just have the names and the parcel numbers, but is just the names okay? You
Just
want
the
the
names.
parcel numbers? Okay. Arsenal 201 Phase 1 LLC, Arsenal 201 Phase 2 LLC, Cannon Butt LLC, Butler and 40th LLC, the Board of Public Education of the School District of Pittsburgh, the City of Pittsburgh, and the County of Allegheny.
Okay. And I don't have any correspondence on the list. There was no correspondence or no follow-up correspondence or communications with those
No.
entities after the notices were
No.
sent. Okay. A little surprised by that. with
We
our-
do send them notification of the meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, so this changed staff partway through, so things are a little disjointed. So we know that they received notification of nomination. They may not have received notification of the meetings, but they will receive notification now that we're back on track of the council public hearing. So they will still have one opportunity to speak publicly if they feel that they've not been
Okay.
properly informed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised with Arsenal 201 that there hasn't been any follow-up communication. I know that the officers' quarters was discussed when we saw the second phase of that project. So I'm just a little surprised that we haven't heard from them. But normally I rely pretty heavily on what the Historic Review Commission says about these applications, and not having heard from them, our scope is pretty limited to determining whether this, negatively impacts the adjacent properties. And not having heard from them, I can't say that I need to vote against this.
Yeah, the code actually doesn't designate which has to go first, so
Oh,
planning
yeah.
commission can,
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
situation has.
And then I think I just had a quick follow-up question that I'm now forgetting. Something else. Okay. So who was the nominator?
The nominator was Pittsburgh Water.
Pittsburgh Water.
Pittsburgh Water and Sewer, but now they're going by Pittsburgh Water.
Okay. But they don't own any property here.
They do not. This was, I believe this was a piece of not remediation. Why am I blanking on the word? Mitigation for previous work that was done. This nomination was agreed upon as mitigation for a previous project.
Interesting. Okay. I was also just wondering, because the officers' quarters was discussed as part of Arsenal 201, if it was related to that project, but, and maybe, but it wasn't that owner. Okay.
But we'll make sure for sure that they get written notification again about the council
Right.
Hearing,
Absolutely.
public hearing council.
Are there any other commissioner comments? If not, do I have a motion to recommend historic nomination?
So moved.
So moved,
Second.
Commissioner Blackwell, and seconded by Commissioner Dick. I'll take a roll call. Commissioner Blackwell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Gammy,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Neill, abstain, Commissioner Cantania,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Aye.
and Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. We are recommending historic designation to council. There will be, as Ms. Reed noted, a hearing before the Historic Review Commission tomorrow, and then this will be heard by City Council. Thank you so much. That concludes our hearing and action portion of today's meeting. Do we have a director's report?
I'll be very brief, Chair, just to give commissioners an update on PGH 2050, the city's comprehensive planning effort. We will be coming before you to give kind of a more detailed update and briefing. Just some highlights. We did pass over 25,000 residents and people, stakeholders in the city that we've engaged through this process just over this year, which, I'd say is a pretty impressive number, both in the 5,300 people that we've reached digitally and the almost 20,000 that we've had participate through meetings, with the city around the comprehensive planning effort, has been, and that those numbers are through the beginning of October. So we haven't included what we've had over the last month, which, I know some commissioners were involved, but we did just conclude holding a round of scenario planning workshops. We had 2 at the MG Innovation Center. We had 1 in the West End and 1 virtual scenario workshop where residents really worked through 3 distinct scenarios. One around the attainable city, which is really focused on how we build and look at a future which sees, is kind of focused on housing growth. The prosperous city, which is really, how we as a city look at how we grow, focused on economic opportunity and diversity, or economic diversity and opportunity. And a scenario that was the climate ready city, which is really how we focus what the future of the city is, based on adaptability and resiliency. So we did just conclude those 4 workshops. We'll be coming back to the commission with an update as to what we've heard, through those workshops, as well as, since the last time that I presented kind of a longer director's report, but did want to, number one, signal that we'll be coming back for a larger briefing with the commission on the comprehensive plan and our progress. Number two, express, kind of, the milestones that we've hit as far as engagement. And number three, just kind of walk through the work that we've done with scenario planning with the public. So happy to take any questions now. Again, I think we will, whether that is in December or in January, be coming to, like I said, to the commission for a more full briefing with a lot more detail.
Great, thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you so much. And with that, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye.
If you haven't already, go vote.
Go vote.
Bye.
Done.
Bye.
Bye.